Despite the USA being involved in almost every major war in modern times, the Vietnam conflict still holds the position as the most significant and formidable challenge for the American Army. Yet, unlike the European front for which the American Marines and soldiers were trained, Vietnam offered an entirely alien territory. There was no waterfront to advance, no safe region to defend, and no well-defined theater to operate in. Soldiers during the Vietnam War faced numerous challenges and endured significant hardships. While most of these challenges could be explained, some didn't make sense. These inexplicable mysteries are still creeping into the minds of veteran experts and historians of the Vietnam War. I've heard it said that in the Second World War, the combat veteran had 40 days in combat, whereas we guys in Vietnam had about 240 days out of the 1 year we spent there. Today, let's look at the dark secrets of the Vietnam War, which are still baffling the world. Vietnam proved to be not only unfamiliar, but also a daunting terrain for the American Marines, necessitating assistance from locals and South Vietnamese soldiers to navigate the area of operations. Those who lacked sympathy for the Viet Cong's cause or were unaware of the situation were willing to guide the Marines through the challenging topography of Vietnam. However, some parts of the dense forests needed to be more intimidating even for these locals. They spoke of unnatural and terrifying creatures that were best left unencountered: phantoms, reanimated corpses, and flying shadows. Despite the warnings, the Marines dismissed them as third world folklore. However, once in action, the surreal became starkly honest. The woods of Vietnam tested the sanity of the American troops with their heat, humidity, darkness, and the psychological warfare tactics of the Viet Cong. This environment forced the troops to confront unprecedented levels of stress, anxiety, and terror. Furthermore, opium use spread rapidly among the American troops, exacerbating the situation. Reports surfaced of ghostly figures moving unnaturally through the trees and humanoid creatures with black eyes attempting to abduct unsuspecting troops. Some soldiers even reported encountering seemingly bulletproof beasts. U.S. 1st Marine Division members testified to encountering a giant woman, adding to the surreal and harrowing nature of their experiences. Earl Morrison, who discovered the creature at a close distance of 10 feet while on night duty, described it as a winged woman with bat-like wings and skin as dark as shadows. He noted that the creature emitted an eerie glow as it approached before swiftly flying away from the camp. Some speculated that the fear of such entities led the American military to resort to using Agent Orange and napalm instead of sending manned incursions into the woods, given the dense canopy that obscured sunlight, shrouding the area in perpetual darkness during the Vietnam War. Flight 739 vanished between Guam and the Philippines on March 16, 1962, leaving no trace behind. Despite extensive searches, including 2 months of investigation yielding no clues, the 107 passengers aboard were declared deceased. However, families of the victims claimed that those on board were soldiers deployed to Vietnam, contradicting official records that stated otherwise. Although some files confirmed that the flight was bound for Saigon with predominantly American passengers, including communication advisors and supply sergeants. Family members allege that the passengers were hand-picked mission members for military purposes, yet specific details remain heavily redacted in documents provided to the families. The mysterious disappearance lacked any distress signals or attempts at communication from the plane. Reports of an alleged explosion along the flight path yielded no evidence upon investigation. Despite families' efforts to honor the victims on the Vietnam Memorial Wall, authorities have remained silent on the matter, adding to the intrigue surrounding Flight 739. The flight, carrying 2 crews and primarily jungle-trained Army Rangers, skilled in electronics and communications, along with a few South Vietnam military members, was destined for Saigon. Among them was Ming Tai, whose survival of a sniper's attempt in 1955 could have potentially altered the outcome of the Vietnam War and the broader Cold War dynamics. Trained by the Japanese during World War II, T's role in the conflict could have been pivotal despite his unassuming appearance. Trendline served as a non-commissioned police officer in the Japanese military throughout the Second World War. It became a kawaii military leader during the end of the First Indochina War. He served in that role at the beginning of the Vietnam War. During his time with Japanese Kimpotai, they cemented anti-communist and anti-colonialist ideology in Trinimente. After the Second World War had concluded, he joined the French army to be part of the Association for Restoring Vietnam. Still, he defected in 1951 along with thousands of supporters to create the Union of Nationalist Forces of Vietnam. The third contender in the fight for Vietnam was supposed to go against both the Viet Cong and the Western Front. However, it is believed Tren Mente was under extreme pressure to align with the South Vietnamese army by his financial backers. But before that could have panned out, Tren Minute was taken out on a Saigon street by a sniper in 1955. The identity of the sniper remains shrouded in mystery, leaving unanswered questions about the motive behind his elimination and the identity of those who sanctioned it. Speculation abounds regarding the potential impact his alliance with South Vietnam could have had on the war, but any concrete plans have been lost to history. Similarly, scrutiny surrounded George W. Bush's military service during his presidential campaigns in 2000 and 2004. Focus on his service records highlighted inconsistencies and missing information, fueling speculation. Conflicting details within the records, such as discrepancies between payroll and medical reports regarding his attendance at Ellington Air Force Base in 1973, added to the intrigue. Reports suggest Bush's time at the Texas Air Force Base was marked by attempts to secure a transfer, initially denied but eventually granted. His qualifications also raised doubts, contrasting with later praise from superior officers. Moreover, a gap in his documented whereabouts for a significant period raises further questions. Despite these uncertainties, Bush's celebrity status was well documented, with photographs capturing interactions with commanding officers. Yet, the disparity between his public image and service records leaves a lingering uncertainty regarding his tenure. He received special treatment to avoid the most intense combat of the Vietnam War and transitioned into pilot training. Later, he claimed he was denied deployment overseas, but the full extent of what occurred behind the scenes remains unclear. While Americans entertained themselves with ghost stories, they also attempted to exploit Vietnamese superstitions with the assistance of South Vietnamese volunteers. American military personnel recorded eerie voices, famously known as Ghost Tape Number 10, broadcast in the jungles during Operation Wandering Soul. Despite its widespread use, its effectiveness in instilling fear in the enemy remains dubious. While some claim it had no impact on the Viet Cong, others suggest it did undermine their morale to some extent. There are even reports of the tape causing the Viet Cong to abandon their posts out of terror. However, the absolute truth about its effectiveness still needs to be discovered. Whether you dare to venture into the jungles of Vietnam to uncover it is up to you. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows of history as we explored the lesser-known stories and dark secrets of the Vietnam War. These stories remind us of the complexities and the profound impacts of conflict, not just on the battlefield, but on the human spirit. If you found these revelations intriguing, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating chapters. And in the meantime, don't forget to check our other videos. Thanks for watching.